Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea. Thanks for joining me for this special video. And in technical terms, holy shit, fuck, Ben Affleck is back as Batman. Okay, you know, here's the thing. Let me preface this by saying this. Okay, so it's the things in life. It is the surprises in life. In case you can't tell, I'm kind of happy about this. I'm not going to stand up. My pants are soaked. It is the things in life, the surprises in life that you do not expect that bring you the most joy when they come. You know, I was the first guy to tell you guys will remember this. A couple of years ago, I was the first guy to let you guys know that Ben Affleck was out as Batman. Everybody said I was lying. I was not. Ben Affleck was out as Batman. Ben Affleck has also been my favorite iteration of Batman. You guys know that when they announced Ben Affleck as Batman, John Schnepp and I got on the internet in 5 minutes after the announcement came out to stream about the brilliance of the casting of Ben Affleck. This is a guy who understands Batman. He is a much better actor than people give him credit for, and we thought it was a brilliant move. I loved the iteration that Zack Snyder with Ben Affleck gave us of now. I'm not saying that Batman versus Superman was a better movie than, say, than The Dark Knight. Clearly it was not, but I have always said that I believe that that iteration of Batman in Batman versus Superman was the best iteration of Batman we've ever seen. That Ben Affleck was a guy who understood that Bruce Wayne was the mask, the Bat was the real, that Bruce Wayne died as a child in that alley with his parents and the Bat was born. And I'd never seen on screen it really properly realized the way it was, the way Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder directing him brought that out. I have also, from everything that I've seen and from everything that I heard, you know, the return of Ben Affleck, while something that would induce somebody like me to lose all control of my bodily functions, because he is my favorite Batman. It just looked incredibly unlikely. I mean, always said anything is possible, sure, but did I actually ever think that we would really see Ben come back and don the cowl again? No. I always knew anything is possible in this business, sure, but really I didn't think so. And it is those moments and it is those times when you really don't expect something that when it comes to pass, it elicits maybe a little bit more of a response. Ben Affleck to me was born to play Batman. I really believe that. I think he is fantastic as Batman. I think he's a guy who understands Batman. I think he is that combination. He has the right talent set to play it. He has the understanding of the mind of the character, and he has a deep appreciation and love of the lore of Batman. He has his own Batcave at his house. That he is the guy to do it, and I have loved it. But I have honestly never thought, nor did anybody really, that he would actually come back. That was a pipe dream at best, but it is the pipe dreams that give us the greatest excitement. And so we are here to tell you this official. And by the way, this isn't from Gus's movie reviews at gasstation.fart. This is coming from Deadline. This is coming from Vanity Fair. This is coming from all these places that it is official. He's back. Now it is unfortunate, by the way, it is unfortunate that this news has come out now and they weren't able to break this at DC Fandom, but maybe they just figured out too many people know about it. It's going to get out. And so they needed to let some outlets come and come forward with the story. But Ben Affleck is back. This is one of the more interesting things about this. Ben Affleck only got the script, and it's going to be in the Flash movie. By the way, I'm so excited about Ben being back. I haven't even announced what movie's for. It's going to be for the Flash movie. Ben Affleck got the script at the end of last week and agreed this week to join the project, which is, of course, I don't know how legitimate. I mean, what happens if he said no? Do they rewrite the entire script? At any rate, Muschietti, who's directing this thing, then he's a very substantial. Notice they didn't say he's in a lot of the movie. Now, look, I don't want to get too terribly excited. This could literally be a 5-minute cameo. And if it is, fine, so be it. And I do also want to, you know, give this little bit of disclaimer. There's nothing here that Ben Affleck is back to play Batman for anything more than this Flash movie. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But we're only talking about this one Flash movie, and it could be like a 2 to 5 minute cameo. What Muschietti is describing it as, he's a very substantial part of the emotional impact of the movie. The interaction and relationship between Barry and Affleck's Wayne will bring an emotional level that we haven't seen before, the director added. It's Barry's movie. It's Barry's story. But their characters are more related than we think. They both lost their mothers to murder, and that's one of the emotional vessels of the movie, and that's where Affleck's Batman kicks in. Then he also adds, I'm glad to be collaborating with someone who's been on both sides of the camera too. Muschietti saying about Ben Affleck, who is one of the better directors in Hollywood right now, Ben Affleck is. He understands. So, what we have already known was that we were going to get Michael Keaton back. Now, again, it could be for a 30-second cameo. It could be for a 5-minute small, tiny part. It could be a very substantial 20 minutes part. We don't know. And now we also know that Ben Affleck is going to be in there. Again, we don't know if it's 5 substantial minutes or whether it's a long role, a huge part. All they're saying is it's substantial. That could literally mean just about anything. And that's fine. I can live with that for now. I can live with the fact of not knowing, is Ben going to be in this for 20 minutes? Is he going to be in it for 1 minute? It's enough for me, and I think a lot of fans, to just know that he's just going to be back there. At least he's going to appear. What does this mean moving forward? I can't possibly speculate at this point. Does this mean we'll see Ben again as Batman after Flash? It's certainly a possibility. Although for something like a Flashpoint story, it might make sense that he just comes back the once to do the one thing the one time. But coming back at all, at least you got to say it opens the door, doesn't it? Like, can't we say at least that this at least cracks open the door to open the possibilities that we could see him in even more. I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves. For now, let's focus on the glory that it is the true Batman. The true Batman. No disrespect to anybody else. Obviously, Christian Bale, who played him so brilliantly. One of the great actors, George Clooney, Val Kilmer, whatever. But to me, again, it's just about that fundamental understanding that Ben always got, that Batman is the character. Bruce Wayne is a figment of other people's imaginations. And you really saw that, like particularly when you go into Batman versus Superman, when you would look at the interactions between Bruce and Alfred, that was Batman talking to Alfred, right? In a lot of the other iterations, when Bruce is talking to Alfred, it's Bruce Wayne. It always got the sense, especially in Batman versus Superman, that it was Batman talking to Alfred, right? And that's just kind of one of those key things that I think is vital and important and really goes to that character. And if for nothing else, in the sake of continuity of what we've had in the DCEU so far, whether or not you love or hate what's in the DCEU, I know at least half the audience hates what the DCEU has been so far. I get it. But whether you're somebody who has loved or hated what has happened in the DCEU so far, there's at least, if you're going to do something like a Flashpoint, that you have that consistency in there. Now, a lot of people now speculating, well, if Michael Keaton's going to be there and if Ben Affleck's going to be there, do you think Christian Bale might come in there too? Hey, look, anything's possible. I don't think Christian Bale would come within 20 feet of this. I don't think he'd be interested. Plus, the Christopher Nolan Batman verse seems to be something very different. So I don't even know if the writers would try to incorporate that. But hell, we didn't think Ben Affleck would be back. I certainly didn't. And so we are getting, in my iteration, the guy to best portray the character is now coming back, at least for one more ride. If we find out it's going to be more, great. I'll celebrate it at that time. For now, I'm just going to take what we got, which is Ben Affleck is back as Batman. Something, again, I never thought would happen. I mean, I always knew anything's possible, blah, blah, but I never thought he'd be back. Not with everything going on. Here's something that's interesting. For those of you who watch the show regular, you remember about a year or so ago, I did a story where I had heard that a number of the new leadership at Warner Brothers had been meeting with Ben. And I said at the time that could be, a sign that things are softening. Maybe it opens the possibility that Ben at some time could return. I had told you about that, but I also said that I don't really buy it, right? Like I told you about it, but I also said I didn't really buy it. And so who knows, maybe this is something that has stretched on for 6 months, or maybe it's something relatively new. Maybe it's something that just happened 3 weeks ago. Maybe it's something that happened 3 months ago. Maybe it's something that happened a year ago. After all, Ben Affleck did leave being Batman 2 years before the public found out about it officially. So, I mean, who knows? Whatever. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that Ben Affleck is back as Batman. And I'm going to have to change pants several times today. This is incredible news. I am so stoked. And again, right now, you could tell me tomorrow, you could tell me at DC Fandom that Ben is literally going to be in it for a 30-second scene. That's fine. I'll take it. You know why I'll take it? Because I never thought we were going to get a single another second of him. I never thought we would get a single another second of him. And so if you tell me he's in there for 30 seconds, I'll take it. You tell me he's in there for 5 minutes, I'll take it. You tell me he's in there for 20, great. You tell me he's signed a new 5-film deal, great. For right now, I'm just going to take what you're giving me. And what you're giving me is pretty delicious and pretty good. And holy fuck shit, Ben Affleck is back as Batman. And I honestly can't remember. I can't remember feeling this excited about movie news. I mean, I have to go back. I was more excited when we found out that Disney had acquired Lucasfilm. They were going to be making new Star Wars movies. I was probably more excited at that. I was very excited when they announced Ben Affleck was going to be Batman the first time around. You guys remember that? But it's been a while since I've been this excited about a piece of movie news. And again, part of it is just because Ben is great as Batman. Part of it's just because I really didn't think this was going to happen. Always knew anything's possible, but I really didn't think this was going to happen. And it's so freaking great. This is so freaking great. I can't even begin. But listen, guys, I'm sure we will talk about this more on the John Campea Show tomorrow. But for now, we activated the super chats on here, which we've had turned off for a number of months. But to make sure we keep specific questions about Batman separated from the regular questions that are being sent in, we turned on the super chat feature. And a bunch of you guys have been sending in some super chats with comments. So let's get over to it and hear what you guys have to say. Ben Rayner is writing in. First off, John, are you okay? I'm hanging in there. I may pass out any second. Second, if true, Keaton and Affleck both back, that's apparently the case. Could we be getting, again, somebody else asking the story, could we be getting Bale back for a quick cameo? Listen, I highly doubt it. But again, we are in an anything can happen kind of world. I don't see Christian Bale at all even being interested in this. Not to mention he's kind of going to be in the new Thor movie. But remember, Christian Bale said after The Dark Knight Rises, Christian Bale, you remember because it was on my AMC show, Christian Bale said that he wasn't going to play superhero characters anymore. Fair enough. He wasn't going to play superhero characters anymore. But now he's going to be in Thor, Ragnarok. So who knows? Again, I highly doubt it, but you never know. You never know. Tomo S writes, this means Henry is pretty much guaranteed too. Yes, but remember that they had already announced, the major trades had already said Henry was in talks to return as Superman, right? So now all we're waiting for on the Henry Cavill part is the official announcement and what his return is going to be. Will it be in a Flashpoint like Ben Affleck? Will it be in Black Adam, since him and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson have the same manager? Will it be in his own standalone J.J. Abrams directed Superman movie? That's all we're really waiting to find out. But the Henry Cavill returning as Superman, we already know it's coming. We're just waiting for that official word. All right, next up, Ramit Mittal writes, hey, John, this is my theory. Before Flashpoint Batman, Batflick, and after Flashpoint is Battinson. What do you say? You guys are awesome. Hashtag filthy forever. Thank you so much, Remit. Here's my, listen, this is just all hitting. So here's my best guess right now. I've kind of been believing that the Battinson, the new Matt Reeves Batman movie is outside of the DCEU, much like the Joker was, right? I don't know that that's the case. They could say Robert Pattinson's Batman is the same Batman, just younger, or they could do a lot of things. Where I have been leaning, though, is believing that this Batman being played by Robert Pattinson is outside of the DCEU. So I think Ben coming back into Flashpoint kind of reinforces that Robert Pattinson's Matt Reeves Batman is outside of the DCEU, much like the Joker was. Again, we don't know that, But that's kind of the way I'm leaning on that. Danny Sanchez writes, I want to see Pea Puddle, John. I'm sorry, we're not going to show Pea Puddles, nor the soaking pants. Nor how many pairs of pants I'm going to have to go through today. All right, David Goldstein writes, do you think this is a one-off thing, or do you think he will continue to be Batman in the DCEU? Again, this is all so fresh. I'm trying right now not to even care. Because you got to remember, I thought that was it. We weren't going to see, in my estimation, the best Batman. We were not going to see Ben Affleck as Batman again. So I never thought we were going to get another second of it. So if you give me 30 seconds in Flash, those are 30 seconds of win. If you give me 5 minutes of him in Flash, it'll be 5 minutes of win. Whether or not he's going to be doing multiple films, I don't know. I don't know. I'm almost so emotionally fragile about it right now that I don't even want to venture a guess at this moment. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I'm just going to take this, that he's Batman again at least one more time. My initial guess would be it's probably a one-time thing, but you know, if he is back in, it does open the door that it could be for more stuff. Could be. I don't think it is, but I mean, who knows at this point, man? Who knows? All right. I'm still kind of hyped up about this. Anyway, John, Haskell 420 says, John, it's not confirmed he is coming back in the suit. He may just be Bruce. Humberto Gonzalez-Torres, I'm hearing it's only a cameo. Again, it may very well be a cameo. Remember, let's go back to what Muschietti said in his comment. Muschietti, the director of the Flash movie. Look at the highlighted paragraph I have there. He's a very substantial part of the emotional impact of the movie. That doesn't tell us anything about how long he's in it, right? It could very well be a 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, 30 seconds. We don't know. All we know is that it will be an important, impactful 30 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 50. It is. I will not be surprised at all if we find out it is a brief cameo, much like I think Michael Keaton's thing is probably going to be a fairly small role. We may or may not see him in the Batsuit. By the way, it could be a 30-second cameo, and he can still be in the Batsuit if it's a 30-second cameo. It could be 20 minutes of the movie, and he may not be in the suit at all. So we really don't know. The length of time that he will be in this movie does not speak at all to whether or not we'll see him in the Batsuit. And ultimately, it's not even the important thing to me. The important thing to me is just that it's Ben. Ben as Batman. And remember, the way Ben plays Batman, he's Batman whether he's in the suit or not. He's not Bruce Wayne out of the suit and Batman in the suit. He is Batman, period. And then he'll put on this fake Bruce Wayne facade when he needs to around other people, but he's always the Bat, whether he's in the costume or not. So it could be 30 seconds, could be 10 minutes, could be, we just don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. All right. AJ Taylor writes, no wonder Ben has gotten back into great physical shape. You know, it's funny. Somebody was sending me, I don't care about TMZ shite. So a lot of people have been writing and saying, John, what do you think about Ben Affleck and Anna de Armas and all this kind of stuff? I don't give a shit about who's dating who. I don't give a crap about that. But I will say I was looking at some pictures people were sending me. Look at him with Anna. Look how happy he looks. Well, if you were with Anna de Armas, you'd be smiling a lot too. But one of the things I did say to Anna when I saw this, I said, wow, Ben has really gotten himself back into shape, right? He's really gotten himself back into shape. Now, that could be for anything though, right? He's a movie star, so he's in shape. It's not like he's Henry Cavill and he looks like a Mr. Universe competitor, but he has got himself into much better shape. All right, let's see here. That was AJ Taylor. Haskell 420 writes, how much money does Warner Brothers throw at Bale to convince him? I don't think it's worth all that much money. Again, because look, it's possible, but the Christopher Nolan Batman thing was such a separate thing. Like, was so far removed, much more far removed than Tim Burton's Batman was or any other iteration we've seen. That was such a wildly separate thing that I don't even know that Warner Brothers is interested to have Christian Bale come back. And would an actor the caliber of Christian Bale come back? I don't know. I can't say it's an absolute no because we clearly see anything is possible. I'll stick with I doubt it, but we'll have to wait and see. Right, Joe Barrowman writes, Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms. He was. Listen, this is why. I remember everybody pretends like they didn't, but y'all are liars. When they announced Ben Affleck as Batman, the whole fucking world was, ha ha ha, look, they got Ben Affleck to play Batman, ha ha ha, and they laughed and laughed, and everybody put out their memes, and everybody made their jokes, and everybody said how pathetic it was, and there were very, very few people that from day one said, you mark my words, this is brilliant casting, because Ben is a far better actor than people give him credit for. And he understands this character far better than most people do. And you mark my effing words, this is going to be great. Him as Batman is going to be great. But again, overall, I just think he's a better actor than most people give him credit for. Go and watch the movie he did with Samuel L. Jackson called Changing Lanes. If you really want a big appreciation for just how good of an actor Ben can be, go and check that out. All right, next up. Spartan Ghost writes, firstly, yes, Batflick is the best Batman. Do you think this opens a door for a mini series on HBO? Tell me a dream, John. No, I don't think so. I think if anything, more movie appearances, maybe. I would certainly believe more movie appearances before I would believe an HBO series. But again, we live in an era right now of anything is possible. So I wouldn't put money against it. If I had to guess, no. I don't think this means HBO series. I think if anything, it maybe might mean more movies, perhaps, but I wouldn't put money on that. I wouldn't put money on it, so anything's possible. Ramit Mittal writes, Cavill announcement at fandom guaranteed. Not necessarily. Again, we've covered that already, but not necessarily. Again, we already know he's coming back. It's just a matter of making it official and what will the project be. Jock Cop writes, does this open up Grant Gustin multiverse cameo? Ezra was on the show. I think Ezra popping up on the show opened that possibility. I think that opened up the possibility of it. So I think even though I don't, like if I had to bet, I'd be under 50% that Grant Gustin appears in this, but I'd go over 20%, right? So I think it's not likely. So I'll go under 50% that he appears, but I think it's likely enough that say if you set the over underline at 20%, I'd take the over on that. So again, I think unlikely, but a very realistic possibility since again, we saw Ezra pop up on the CW show. Sam Phillip writes, now do you think Ben will be at fandoms? Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I will still guess no because they no longer have the announcement to make, right? That's it. It's done. Everybody now knows there's no announcement to make about it. It is done. So I don't think so, but listen, because fandoms is not an actual in-person event, what does it take for, let's pretend this remote control was a phone, for, hey, Ben, just hold up your phone, record yourself for 30 seconds saying, hey guys, I'm so excited to come back as Batman in the Flash movie. This is going to be great. And then send that in. How hard would that be? That's the easiest thing in the world. So it's possible. I wouldn't put money on it, but it's possible. Mr. Golfwang 969 writes, tell me, do you bleed? One of the best lines in any comic book movie. Somebody's staring down the Superman and says, tell me, do you bleed? Somebody's staring down the Superman and saying that, particularly Ben Affleck's Batman. One of the best lines ever in any comic book movie. All right, Lucky Dragon writes, do you think Michael Keaton is now playing Thomas Wayne? That's always been a possibility, right? That's always been a possibility that maybe it was Thomas Wayne that he's playing as opposed to Batman. I still think it's going to be a Timelines version of Bruce Wayne. I still think it's going to be a Timelines version of Bruce Wayne. And maybe we'll get Negan back as Thomas Wayne. Maybe we'll get him back as Thomas Wayne. I don't know. So it's possible. I would put my $2 on him actually being a different Bruce Wayne version. But Thomas Wayne is totally feasible, especially if you understand the Flashpoint storyline. All right, next up. A Gotham Knight writes, 1 hour ago in the live stream, I think it's highly unlikely. 1 hour later, Ben is back as Batman. Not just an hour ago. For years. Ever since the day that I was the first person to tell you that Ben Affleck was out as Batman. For years, I thought the chances of him coming back are basically nil. I mean, other than anything is possible, yes, but I never really thought he'd be back. It wasn't just an hour ago that, because an hour ago, I'm on my show, hey, look, anything's possible. I mean, in this new world, anything's possible, but I really doubt it. I mean, I really doubt it. I wouldn't put anything on that. I think it's highly unlikely. But I thought that for years. It wasn't just an hour ago. So, woo! It's the bigger surprises that really get you. Somatic writes, breaking news. Great job, John. You think this is a Flashpoint reboot to reset the universe plot-wise or actor-wise? I don't think so. I think here's why I don't think so. While it is possible, this is why I wouldn't guess it would be. Walter Hamada, during his reign as kind of leading the DCEU ship, has been very individual movie focused, right? He has said, we're not worrying about the shared cinematic universe right now. Not that it doesn't exist, but our focus is on just making the best individual movies we can, period. So understanding that has been the mindset of Walter Hamada. My guess is I don't think that this Flashpoint movie is going to be a full reset for everything going on in the DCEU. Because I just, that hasn't been what Walter Hamada's MO has been so far. That doesn't mean it can't happen, though. Doesn't mean it can't happen. So we'll see. So I'm going to guess no. I think this will be a very isolated, self-standalone Flashpoint story. And then they'll move on with the rest of their DCEU stuff. But you never know. I mean, that is certainly possible. You're going to see more people speculating about that in Somatic. All right. D-Train writes, could we see Bale come back as well? Seriously, it wouldn't hurt. It could be silly, though. Like, here's the thing. You never want to overdo it, right? You never want to overdo something. Like having the original big screen Batman, Michael Keaton there. Very cool. Especially if it's supposed to be an older Batman. Having the guy who has been Batman in the current DCEU there, that makes sense. It might be getting to the point of being silly if they then go beyond even that and pull in like a Christian Bale, who I don't even think would do it. So again, today, as much as any other day, reminds us that we are in a period of time right now where anything is possible. So let's put it this way. I'm not going to fall out of my chair tomorrow if I found out Christian Bale's going to make a cameo. I'm not going to fall out of my chair in shock. I doubt it, but I wouldn't be shocked at this point. All right. Reneker writes, if The Flash and Snyder Cut both get praised, I'm 99% certain that Affleck will return for more stuff. What do you think? I see, here's the thing. I've said this before. I will say it again. It does not matter how much I love Man of Steel, because you guys know I call it the single most underrated superhero movie of all time. A top 10 greatest superhero movie ever made, in my opinion. It doesn't matter how much I like that. It doesn't matter that I like Batman versus Superman. It doesn't matter that I like Justice League. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that half of the audience and half of the critics hated Man of Steel. Half of the audience and half of the critics hated Batman versus Superman. We got a good look at what Zack Snyder's vision of the DCEU is, particularly with his masterpiece, Man of Steel. And getting a good look at his DCEU, half the audience hated it. They should all love it, but half the audience hated it. I don't believe there's any reason we should honestly, seriously believe that all of a sudden, magically, people are going to magically get on board with Zack Snyder's vision of the DCEU. To me, if you don't appreciate Man of Steel and the masterpiece that that movie is, in my opinion, it's all subjective, but in my opinion, the masterpiece that movie is, then I don't think there's anything Zack Snyder can do with the DCEU story that you're going to really get on board with. Just to be frank. So I think a lot of audiences who already saw Man of Steel and didn't like it, and already saw Batman versus Superman and didn't like it, I don't think there's any realistic reason to believe that all of a sudden, magically, they're going to like Zack Snyder's DCEU stuff with the Justice League Snyder Cut. It could be better than the theatrical version, but again, it's going to be Zack Snyder's DCEU movie. And we've already had a couple of those, and half the audience and half the critics hated them. I've spent years trying to convince people to appreciate Man of Steel, but it doesn't change anything. So I don't think we're going to get that kind of response from Zack Snyder's Snyder Cut, other than the very hardcore Zack Snyder faithful who are going to say they love it no matter what. But The Flash, I mean, I don't know. I think Ben Affleck is in a better place in his life right now. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about another movie that Ben Affleck was connected to. It seems like Ben Affleck right now is just in a better place in his life. And I don't think the success or failure of a Flash movie is going to figure into whether or not Ben wants to do more movies anywhere near as much as the fact that Ben is just in a better place in his life. And so honestly, if Ben feels like he is raring to go to do more Batman, I think The Flash could be a total flop of a movie. And I still think Ben will do more Batman. If Ben feels like, hey guys, it's cool, I'll come back for one quick appearance. If that's where he's at, then I don't think The Flash making $3 billion at the box office is going to change his mind. I think it's all about where he's at in his life. So if he feels good about this, I think Flash could be a total flop, and I think he'll still come back more. If he just feels like, you know what, guys, getting away from Batman and all that was very healthy for me. I'm in a better place, so I'll come back and do something once, and that's it. If that's the case, then I don't think The Flash making, like I said, $3 billion at the box office is going to make a difference. He either feels good about doing it or he doesn't, and he's going to make decisions based on how does he think that's going to affect his life. You know, because he's in a better place now, and I hope he continues to make that his number one priority. As much as I'm pissing the floor to see him come back as Batman, what I want Ben to really do, because he's already given his due, I just want to see him make decisions that's going to be healthiest for him. And if that means coming back for Batman, awesome. And if it means it's a one-time quick thing, we'll take it, you know? So we'll see. All right. Callie Scruff writes, will you cry tears of joy if they announce a Batflick standalone movie Saturday? How cool would that be? No, I don't think tears of joy even comes close to it. Here's where it gets really special, though. If they announce Ben Affleck is coming back as Batman and he's going to be directing that movie, then all bets are off. You can't physically be within 20 feet of me. If they announced at DC Fandom that Ben is doing a standalone movie, and by the way, it's the script he wrote that everybody knows was a great script. They used the script not really being where he wants it to be as one of the excuses they gave for them not doing his script, when really he had already fully pulled away from the movie. Remember that whole song and dance they did? Like when they were telling everybody, oh, they decided not to use, he's not going to be directing. Guys, it's not that he's not just directing. He's off the movie. They're just not telling you yet. Oh, they're going to use a different script. Guys, it's not just that they're using a different script. He's off the movie entirely. I'm telling you, he's off the movie entirely. Everybody knew that the script he wrote was great. We've heard reports from people who read the script, people who work at Warner Brothers, who read the Ben Affleck Batman script, who said it was great. So, if they announce at DC Fandom that number one, Ben Affleck is going to do not just The Flash, but he's going to do a standalone Batman movie, and on top of that, they're going to use that script that he wrote, and he's directing it. Oh, John Campea spunk all over the place. I mean, I hate to burn that image into your heads now, but it's going to be John Campea spunk all over the place. Because the other thing that would mean, if they did do a movie based on his script, guess what? Joe Manganiello is Deathstroke. Because remember, that's where Ben Affleck was going. So anyway, I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I'm just happy for what it is we're getting. Kelly Scruff writes, that was Kelly Scruff. Sam Atkins just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Sam. Fan of Steel writes, do you think the chances Jeffrey Dean Morgan is Thomas Wayne in Flashpoint increase with Affleck back? I will say this. With Affleck, who is this DCEU's Batman, coming back, I think wherever the chances were of Negan or Jeffrey Dean Morgan coming back to play Thomas Wayne, I think it goes up a couple of percentage points. Maybe it doesn't go from 10% chance to 90% chance. But if I thought before there was like a 35% chance that Jeffrey Dean Morgan would be a Thomas Wayne in a Flashpoint movie, I think that might go up like to 45%. If it was at 40%, maybe 50 or 55%. I do think the chances go up. I don't think it makes it a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think it sends the chances higher. I think it sends the chances higher. R. Lee writes, if they do opt to go with the Flashpoint storyline, could Michael Keaton return as Thomas Wayne? I know it's all speculation, but it made at least fun. Well, yeah, again, somebody else, you obviously are in good company. Somebody else just asked about that exact same thing. Hold a second. I gotta just check on something here. I gotta let fact checker John's supposed to be coming over here in 20 minutes. Let's push to 2:30. There we go. I don't think I'm going to be done this stream by then. I just had to let Jonathan know to come in over a bit because we're working on the documentary. I still think dollars on it. I still think he's going to be another iteration of Bruce Wayne. Okay. Him being Thomas Wayne is certainly possible, but the things we heard from the reports was that he was indeed going to be Bruce Wayne. That's what the major trade said. So I still think, while it is possible he could be Thomas Wayne, I will still stick with, if you understand Flashpoint, I still will stick with the idea that he's going to play an older version of Bruce Wayne. Let's see. Sam Atkins writes, thoughts on having 3 Batman? Again, I think this is Walter Hamada being very, very single film isolated. I don't think we're going to have 3 Batmen running around the DC multiverse. I don't think we're going to have 3 Batmen making individual Batman movies. I don't think that's going to be the case. Anything's possible, though. Anything's possible. All right. Let's see. Massive Jada writes, your reaction if Batfleck is used as a jobber? Oh, the depth of my rage. First of all, I don't think Ben Affleck would come back to allow his character to be a jobber. For those of you who don't know what a jobber is, and you haven't heard me complain about the way CW uses Superman as a jobber is a WWE wrestling term. A jobber is a wrestler who isn't there to win. They're there to lose and to make the person they're wrestling against look good. Their whole purpose for being there is not to be a superstar. Their purpose for being in that ring is to lose. That's their purpose, to lose and make the person that is going to win look good. That is what a jobber is. And that is exactly what CW has turned one of the greatest comic book characters in history, Superman, if not the granddaddy of all comic book superheroes in history, Superman. They have turned Superman into a jobber. The only reason Superman is in the CW is that so he can get into fights with Supergirl and Supergirl can win to make Supergirl look good. That's the whole reason Superman is in that show, is to make Supergirl look good. You can't, it's okay to job characters sometimes, but you cannot, I've always said, you cannot job Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman. You cannot job the Trinity. So I can't believe for a second that Ben Affleck would come back to be jobbed. I just can't believe that. But if they did bring back Affleck to play Batman, just so he could be a jobber for Flash or anybody, I might forever be finished with the DCEU. I might be done. Like absolutely done with the DCEU if they did that. But I can't believe that they would do that at all. I just can't believe it. I can't believe Ben would come back for them to do that. All right. Luke1234 writes, hopefully it's Batman versus Superman Batman, not Justice League Batman. I agree. Listen, I liked the theatrical version of Justice League. As much as people hate to hear it, sorry, the facts are that the theatrical version of Justice League got a higher audience score and a higher critic score than Batman versus Superman did. Now, I prefer Batman versus Superman. I prefer Batman versus Superman. Obviously, I prefer Man of Steel, but I prefer Batman versus Superman over Justice League. But even though I like Justice League, the one major problem I had with Justice League, and I've talked about this many times, was they took Batman from being the proper Batman in Batman versus Superman. I am Batman first, Bruce Wayne is a fake mask. In Justice League, I've got other issues with Justice League too, but my one significant issue with Justice League, where I thought they made a real mistake, was they fundamentally changed Batman to being Bruce Wayne and Batman is the mask. They went from Batman and Bruce Wayne was the mask to it's Bruce Wayne and Batman is just a mask. And they fundamentally changed that between movies. And that was my biggest issue. And you guys have heard me talk about that a number of times. So yes, I completely agree. Whether it's for 30 seconds, 5 minutes, or 20 minutes, what I really want to see is that iteration of Batman that we first got, which is the one we got from Batman versus Superman. So I'm with you on that, Luke. All right, next up, Stubble McShave writes, do you think Ben will bulk up for the role? Well, like I said, it already looks, I've been talking now for almost 3 hours today, so my voice is going, but I've already seen some recent pictures of him where he's already looking like he's in much better shape than he has been. I don't think he's going to be as physically big as he was for, say, Batman versus Superman, but I think, he'll continue to work out and he'll just be in the best shape that he can. I think he'll be in the best shape that he can. He's not going to be like Henry Cavill big or anything like that. David Zarnowski writes, now we need the return of villains like Carrey's Riddler, Leto's Joker, and Pfeiffer's Catwoman. I don't agree with that, except for the Leto's Joker. I know it's an unpopular thing to say. I like Jared Leto's Joker. Is it as good as Heath's? No. Is it as good as Joaquin's? No. But it's a very different Joker. And I like the Joker. I actually thought one of the problems, and there are several problems with Suicide Squad, but I thought one of the problems was that movie needed more Joker. And he is, right now, the Joker of record in the DCEU. Jared Leto is the Joker of record in the DCEU, much like Ben Affleck is the Batman of record in the DCEU. So if any of those were to return, and I don't think he will, but if any of them were to return, I'm guessing it would probably be Jared Leto. Now, hold on, I'm just having a slight glitch. Give me a second here. I'm just having a little, I just want to make sure my internet doesn't go down here. Give me a second. Okay. 1 second. Anyway, let's move on here. Where were we? Oh yeah. So I think if any of them do, because Jared Leto's Joker is the Joker of record in the DCU, I think it would be him if it was any of them. I'm not saying that means I think he will return. I'm just saying if any of those were to, I would think it would be him. All right. Ivan Prieto writes, maybe we get two Batmans, one inside the DCU and one outside of the DCU. But if that's the case, wouldn't that be confusing to the audience? It could be. I mean, that's always been the one concern. But again, I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves. I think Ben Affleck appearing in Flash is just something we should take and appreciate. I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves right now. Doesn't mean it can't turn into something more. I'm just saying right now, I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves and think, remember, Flashpoint, if you guys know the Flashpoint story, it is a very contained story, right? So you could do a lot in that movie that doesn't really have any necessary repercussions for what happens outside of it. So I've got a feeling this is going to be a one-time thing, but maybe we can dream. But again, I don't want to allow myself to get too carried away. But yeah, they could. I mean, look, we've got a Joker. We had Jared Leto's Joker and then a Joker standalone movie. Okay. We also had a Joker going in Gotham, different variations of Joker going in the Gotham TV show. That wasn't very good. Anyway, so you could, and I don't think it would be terrible. I mean, you can't do standalone movies. What you cannot do is standalone movies of two different Batman, right? I think you could do a standalone Batman universe with Robert Pattinson doing his thing. And then you could theoretically have Ben Affleck's Batman appearing in DCEU movies. But what I don't think you can do is try to have and market two separate standalone Batman movies that are in completely different universes with different actors playing the lead role and different iterations of them. Like you can't have, this Batman, so there's Batman coming out this year. Wow, I can't wait to see it because I love the last one. Well, the last one was the other Batman and this isn't connected. Yeah, so I think you could have one in the DCEU and one having his own movies. I don't know. There's a million different possible combinations of that. Ladislav Misanic writes, give me world's finest. Well, they kind of did already in a way, in a small momentary way. But listen, you know me. Henry Cavill's my favorite Superman of all time. Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman of all time. Let's do the math. How great would that be? All right. Zach Taylor writes, I'm going to assume some people are going to yell at you and say, I told you he was still playing Batman. Hope not. Well, I mean, no, because clearly the people who yelled at me for years that he had not left playing Batman, that's been settled. They were all wrong. I was right. They were wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong and they're right. In this one particular specific case, he had left and he was done. But, you know, he got his life back in order. Things changed. And now he's decided maybe he can come back. And which would just be awesome. But listen, here's the reality. There are a million things that people say every day, right? There are a million things that people say every day. 999,999 times it turns out to not be true. But once in a while, it is. And this is one of those things, man. It just, you know, let me be very, very clear. I know I said anything's possible. Sure, he could. Anything's possible. But let's be clear. I never really thought Ben Affleck would come back. I never really thought he'd come back. And even though I mentally acknowledged, yes, there's always a possibility, sure, in any real practical terms, I never expected that we would see the best Batman come back. Again, I'm not saying Batman versus Superman was better than The Dark Knight or Christopher Nolan. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the way they iterated this character is my favorite way they've always done it. There is that. All right, next up. Samuel Shin writes, I hoped and it finally came true. Fingers crossed he'll get some sort of arc to properly finish off his character whenever he's truly ready to leave. Did you lose control of your bodily fluids? Several times, even as I've been doing this live stream, I've lost control of my bodily fluids several times. Yeah, and again, listen, there are already some people reporting, and I think Muschietti's comments were very veiled, but it is very possible that this Ben Affleck appearance literally could be a 30-second cameo. It could be a 10-minute larger thing, but it is also very possible this could be a 30-second, 1-minute, 2-minute cameo where he pops up, has a serious heart-to-heart conversation with Barry, and then is gone from the movie. It could just be as simple as that. It really could. I would prefer it to be longer, and I would prefer him to direct his own Batman movie, but for now, all we're being told, again, and for those of you who didn't see this off at the beginning, let's go back to this highlighted thing. This is from Muschietti, the director of the Flash movie that's coming out. And when asked about, you know, how long or how big of a role, all he's saying is it's a very substantial part of the emotional impact of the movie. What that means is I'm not telling you how long he's in it. Because you can have a 30-second appearance and that could be very substantial emotionally. So we just don't know yet. We don't know. It might be a 20-minute legitimate co-starring role. It could be a 30-second appearance. The other thing that does suggest that it might be really short is that other line in Vanity Fair that says Affleck got the script at the end of last week and agreed to do it. That tells me that it wasn't even important that he accept it. Like, if he's only looking at the script last week, that means that this movie could have instantly taken his part out and they were still ready to go, right? If he only saw the script last week, that means that if he said yes, great, we're ready to go. If he says no, okay, great, we're still fine to go. So to me, that sort of suggests, and I don't know this, I'm just speculating here. That sort of tells me that it's probably a very, time-wise, a very small role. And again, we go to what Muschietti said about it. He didn't say he's in it for a long time. He just said, it's a very substantial part of the emotional impact of the movie. So all that really tells us is that he has at least one conversation with Barry, right? That's all it really tells. He has one conversation with Barry. Could it be more? Absolutely. but we'll have to wait and see. All right. Thanks for sending that in, man. Okay, we move on next here. That was Samuel Shin. Haskell 420 writes, maybe Ben's there to convince Barry to not alter the future, Barry's mom's death, which would be emotional. Yeah, listen, Muschietti also said, listen, these are two characters that both lost their mothers to murder. So probably at some key point in the movie, Ben has a serious talk with Barry. And that talk could be 2 minutes long. It could be 5 minutes long. Maybe it's a much bigger role than that. Or it could be very, very, very short. And if it was just that quick conversation to convince Barry not to change their future, then that would fit in exactly with that comment from Muschietti. It would fit in perfectly with that comment saying he's a very substantial part to the emotional impact of the movie. It could mean that. I mean, we don't know. We don't know right now. I'll just take whatever they're going to give us at this point. Okay, let's see what's next here. That was Haskell. Next up is Joseph Rotoni, who writes, they said Batman and the Flash have a lot in common, like both of their mothers were murdered. Do you think that they were... I knew somebody at some point was going to say this. Do you think they were both named Martha too? It's possible, but no, we already know that Barry's mother's name is not Martha. By the way, I still contend that the Martha scene in Batman vs. Superman is just misunderstood. I did an entire video called Defending the Martha Scene. Go and search for it on YouTube. I did a video a couple of years ago called Defending the Martha Scene that just explains how I interpreted the scene when I first watched it. Because I think most people, and this is the director's fault, I'm not saying it's not, but I just think people misunderstood what it was Zack was going for in that scene. So again, if you've never seen it, I recommend you go check out my video, Defending the Martha Scene, just to see what I'm talking about. All right, thanks for that, Joseph. All right, next up, Dan's Productions writes, so now we're going to have 3 Batmen on screen. Damn. I mean, if everything in one movie, that looks like it. And hell, if they do somehow convince Christian Bale, which I don't even think they're going to try to do, but if they did, there could be 4. So we'll see. It is Flashpoint. Anything can happen in a Flashpoint, Dan's. Anything can happen in a Flashpoint. Grittier Plays writes, when I saw you two advertise you would be back on to report this, I could not wait to hear that intro music and your grin while reporting this. Listen, I'm probably going to be perma-grinning all day. 70% because it's Ben coming back as Batman. 30% because I never thought it would happen. So you put those two things together, it means I'm probably going to have a perma smile on my face for the rest of the day. It just is. Holy fuck shit. Ben's back. And again, I know, listen, I get it. I know before I start getting 1,000 emails, I know it might just be a small cameo. Okay. I get it. I know. I'm not saying it's going to be a co-starring role in the movie. I'm not saying we're going to get him in more movies. I'm not saying any of that. I get it. It might just be a cameo. But when you consider that I never thought we'd see another second of Ben as Batman again, I'll take it. It's just bonus, right? It's just bonus at this point. I'm playing on house chips right now. So I get it. It may just be a cameo. Don't get too, I can already see the emails. I'm going to, don't get too excited, cameo. It might just be a cameo. Yeah, I know. It might just be a small cameo. But that's still more than I ever thought we would get of him again. And at the very minimum, it at least opens the door of possibility, however unlikely, it at least opens the door of possibility that maybe it could lead to more. Unlikely, but just give me this, would you? Would you just give me this, please? Okay, anyway. Thanks for that. Samuel Shin writes, also, I lost all productivity for today because of this news. Listen, I am sitting here talking online about Ben Affleck coming back as Batman. I've got my editor who's supposed to be here in 15 minutes so we can work on my documentary. I'm supposed to be working. Instead, I just texted, we're not going to be done in the next 15 minutes. So I just had to text him, say, hey man, push it off another half hour. Like I'm skipping work so we could just sit here and talk more about this. So you and me both, Samuel, I'm going to be missing out. I'm going to be sitting there making edits on my movie and Jonathan's going to be saying, hey, so what do you think about this cut? And I'm just going to be looking up at the sky with a big smile on my face. I'm going to be losing a lot of productivity today. There's no doubt. Tom Anderson writes, Why reveal this before fandom? This is so huge. This is bigger than anything they're going to show or announce there tomorrow. Oh, who knows? Listen, what I find is the only real explanation for letting this news get out now is that it was going to get out, right? So Marvel has done this as well. There's been times that Marvel was planning a big announcement, but they found out, hey guys, this leaked. Somebody found out about this. We understand this is making its rounds and there are people who know about this. We should get ahead of this. Get in touch with the major trades right now. Give them the story. That way we're controlling the narrative. My guess is, and I don't know this for sure, I'm just guessing. My guess is they were going to announce this at fandom. It was probably going to be that to be announced panel. And then they found out that they believe the information has gotten into the wrong hands. And so they quickly got a hold of Deadline, got a hold of Vanity Fair and said, hey, we're going to give you a scoop, guys. Boom. And then so they could get ahead of it and still be in control of the narrative. That is my guess of what happened. My guess, and again, I don't know this, I'm just speculating. My guess is they probably planned to announce this at fandom. But this is big news. They probably found out the wrong person discovered it, so they had to get ahead of it before it just leaked. So that's my guess. Don't know that for sure, but that's my guess. Paco San Miguel writes, hey, John, do you think this opens the door to a Justice League 2? I don't think this opens a door or closes the door for a Justice League 2. You know, we were talking on the show today. Listen, I've been saying for a couple of weeks, Walter Hamada said, no shared cinematic universe. We're focusing on individual films right now. Okay, but they've been doing that for a couple of years. Walter Hamada may already be thinking about the next Justice League, because we all know there's going to be another Justice League movie at some point, whether it's in 2 years or 5 years. We know it's going to happen. So I don't think Ben Affleck coming back to do this cameo opens the door more for Justice League 2. Nor do I think if this Ben Affleck announcement wasn't made, that shrinks the possibility of a Justice League 2. I still think Justice League 2 is there on the table. When is the question? But regardless of the Ben Affleck news, I think Justice League 2 is on the table. It's just a matter of when. It's always been a matter of when. All right, next up. Harsh Truth writes, Bale didn't want to share the screen with the Robin character. He certainly won't want to share with 2 other Bruce Waynes. Listen, Christopher Nolan never wanted to do Robin. Let's just be clear. Christopher Nolan has made that clear. He never really intended on doing Robin anyway. And by the way, if that were true, Christian Bale is about to be a villain in a movie where he's going to have Chris Hemsworth and other big megastars sharing that are going to be the main headline characters, right? Thor's name is in the title of the movie. Christian Bale's name isn't. So I honestly, I don't think that's going to have anything to do with it. I really don't. I think Christian Bale has shown he's totally willing to share the spotlight with a lot of other people, even if he's second billed. And so because of that, I don't think that's going to play into it. Now listen, I don't think he's going to be there because I just don't think he'd have any interest. Plus, I don't think it fits in with what the DCEU is doing. But I don't think that would preclude him. I'll be honest with you, Harsh Truth, I don't think that would preclude him. Anyway, Raymond Verrata writes, I'll be pretty cool if they close the Lois Lane loop in the Flash movie. If they have Ben and probably Henry, the Amy Adams is the next one to look after. This isn't going to be a Superman movie. I wouldn't expect that we have Lois in the movie at all. I mean, it's possible. It's certainly possible. If you look at the Flashpoint animated movie, there's room there for it. But I honestly, I wouldn't expect, although anything is possible, I wouldn't expect to see Lois Lane in it. So I don't think they're going to do any work with the Lois Lane character there. I don't think so. Never know, though. Never know. Never lose your nerd rights. This is awesome and hopefully more. He is great. He is great. Again, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'm going to take this. I'm going to celebrate this. I'm going to enjoy this. And if they say later that he's going to do more, fabulous. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'm not going to set myself up for disappointment. I'm just going to take this as it is right now and appreciate it for what it is. All right, let's see here. Richard Karate writes, 2 questions. In two questions in one. Part one, do you think this was the announcement and they announced it now so that's what's removed the announcement from DC fandom? Yeah, I do. I don't know that. I don't know that. But it does seem pretty coincidental that the day they remove that to be announced panel, that was only going to be 10 minutes long, so it was clearly just an announcement of some sorts. I think it's a little coincidental that the day they remove that from the schedule is the same day we find out that he's coming back, at least for a bit. So I personally find that to be a little too coincidental. So I don't know this for a fact. I'm just, looking at the math and making my own calculations, thinking, yes, I do think that was the case. I think the fact that this news has come out at the same time that they pulled that panel, I think that tells us, and I don't know for sure, I'm just guessing. I think that tells us that to be announced panel was going to be Ben Affleck. I think that was the case. I still think we're going to get a Henry Cavill announcement, but it just won't be a part of that. So yeah, that's what I think, Richard. So you and I are on the same wavelength there. All right, Sweet Science Examiner writes, I'd love to see what Affleck is doing post-Justice League. Also, Affleck and Godot had some good chemistry in both Batman vs. Superman and in Justice League in limited scenes together. I don't know. In all the stuff that I liked about Batman vs. Superman, I don't know that I would say that Ben and Gal had great chemistry. I think their scenes together were pretty well written, if not a little moved too quickly. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. Listen, you guys know that I don't think Gal Gadot is that great of an actress. But I've also been saying for the last year and a half or so, she's been getting better. And we now have her coming out in that new Murder on the Orient Express sequel, Death on the Nile. We just had her drop in that trailer with Kenneth Branagh, the new Death on the Nile trailer. It wasn't enough to tell if she's any good or or bad in. There just wasn't enough. There just wasn't enough to tell one or the other. But I think she has continued to work and she's getting better. And I think every time we see her as Wonder Woman moving forward, and I've been critical of, and I think rightfully so, she has not been that good of an actress, in my opinion. But as I said many years ago, if she keeps working at it, she'll get better. And you know what? I've seen her, every time I see her appear in something, she gets better. And I think every time we see her as Wonder Woman moving forward, we're going to see her. I think we're going to see her at her best in Wonder Woman 84. I think whatever we see her as Wonder Woman in after that will be the best still. I think we're just going to see her continue to get better and better. And maybe if the stars are aligned and we see her and Ben Affleck together on screen again, maybe that chemistry will be even better, because today she's a better actress than she was yesterday. And tomorrow she'll be a better actress than she was today. And that's what people who put in the work do. People who put in the work get better. And from everything that I've heard, she's continued to put in the work. And that's all you can ask. That's all you can ask. Put in the work. And apparently she's been doing that. And I think the results have been clear. I think every time we've seen her, she's been getting a little bit better every time. And that's all you can ask from somebody. All right, let's see. Stubble McShave writes, does this increase the chances of a new Batflick movie? Not significantly. But because again, we shouldn't look beyond just this as a one-time thing. But if it was a 5% chance before, maybe now it's an 8% chance, right? So does it increase the chances? Yes. I don't think it increases them significantly, but increase the chances? I'll say yes. T3 Medias writes, now we know why Ezra wasn't fired. Good news drowns out the scandal. Maybe that could be another thing. This is just another thing where they get to go. Maybe that's another reason. Hell, maybe they did release this Batman news now. So now nobody's talking about the Ezra Miller stuff when fandom happens. Hey, that could be it. That could be their strategy. It's not dumb. It's shady and it's unethical, but it's not dumb. It's pretty smart. Because you're right. Now come DC fandom, when they get close to that Flash panel, nobody's going to be asking about Ezra choking a girl. No one's going to be asking about it. No one's going to be thinking about it. The only thing people are going to be thinking of is Ben Affleck is going to be in this movie before the panel even happens. So you're not wrong. You're pretty right. It's pretty smart. Ram Mittal writes, Affleck, Batman, and DCU and Battinson will be Elseworld. I mean, that's kind of been the speculation anyway. Ram, a lot of people have been thinking that already. Raymond 2000 writes, so who's Batman in the DCEU then? No idea. They may not even reference Batman in the DCU moving forward. I don't know. Or that version of Batman. Maybe Ben comes back. Maybe this Flash appearance is just his first step into coming back. Or maybe it's a one-time thing. Like it probably is. But so who knows? Who knows? We'll find out. Okay. Dexter writes, if they use Batman and Superman as jobbers for other heroes in the DCU, I'm done. Oh, me too. Me too, dude. I'm done. I will be done with them. You do not job Wonder Woman, you do not job Batman, and you do not job Superman. You just don't. And so, but listen, I don't think they're going to do that, right? I don't even think that's a danger. So I'm not even going to think about it because honestly, I don't even think it's a remote possibility. Like again, you can have Batman and Superman fight, or you can have Wonder Woman and Batman fight, or you can have Superman and Wonder Woman fight. They can lose to each other. That's fine. You got the Trinity. They can lose to each other. That's fine. But you don't have Superman job to anybody else. And you don't have Batman job to anybody else. And you do not have Wonder Woman job to any. Batman loses a fight to Superman? Cool. Wonder Woman loses a fight to Batman? Cool. Superman loses a fight once to Wonder Woman? Cool. Like, that's fine. They're all in the Trinity. Cool. You do not have them job to other people. You can, and by the way, you can have a defeat, but not be a job, right? You can have a defeat, but not necessarily be a job. Right? You can have extenuating circumstances that happen. Like, for instance, in the CW, when Superman lost his fight to Supergirl, they had at their disposal a built-in reason why he lost. He was under mind control. It wasn't really fully him. So you could have Supergirl win that fight, but it not be a job because there was an extenuating circumstance, right? But what they did in Supergirl was they made sure they had Superman go, no, Supergirl, even though I was hypnotized, you were the far superior warrior to me. I was fully in control. Oh, you are just so much better than me, Supergirl. I mean, so they turned it into a job. You could have Superman pop up and lose a fight and it not be a job. You could have Batman show up and lose a fight and it not be a job. But when you make it a pure job, like what CW did to Superman, screw you. You treat the Trinity with reverence. I don't care what movies you want to make, whatever. You treat the Trinity with reverence and respect. They can lose. They can have their setbacks. They can have their trials and tribulations. But you do not job Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman. That's just me. That's just my kind of thought on that. All right, Dan M. writes, maybe he always had one movie left in the contract. No. And that's irrelevant. They let him walk. They terminated that contract. He walked from it. They ended that thing. It was done. It didn't matter if they had 5 films left on the contract. They agreed to terminate the contract, and he was done. He wanted it terminated. They agreed to terminate it. It was done. This is a whole new agreement. Whatever he's doing here is a whole new agreement. All right, next up, Richard Karate writes, part 2, if they still have the surprise announcement at some point, what if that surprise announcement is that Joaquin Phoenix has signed on to play Joker in Pattinson's second Batman film? That would be rock. I think it would be a terrible idea. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that would be a 1,000% short-sighted, gimmicky, terrible decision. What made Joker so great was that it was truly a standalone film. And look, if you want to do a sequel to it, fine, but you remain Joker in his own true standalone, not connected, not, interwoven with the other movies. It was its own standalone thing. Now, I know a lot of people would disagree with me on that, and that's fine. I'm comfortable being in the minority. But I think it would be a horrible, not only would it not rock, it would be gimmicky and stupid. I think it would be really, really stupid to do that. You'd be undermining part of what made that one Joker movie so great. And all you're doing is just creating yet another cinematic universe. Part of the great thing about the Joker was it showed that Warner Brothers was willing to step outside of cinematic universe to tell great one-shot stories, even if those one-shots get their own isolated sequels. But but if they did this, all they're doing is creating another shared cinematic universe. And it just, I think it would be undermining what they've already done. So I know there'd be a lot of people excited they found out Joaquin Phoenix is going to be the Joker in Pattinson's thing. I think it would be a terrible mistake. Personally, I think it would be a terrible mistake. But who knows? Let's see what happens. All right. Newman Brown writes, if the Matt Reeves movie does poor, Batflick, I don't think that they have brought this in as a backup plan. I don't think, look, because they've already had Ben Affleck as Batman. And both movies that Ben Affleck was in as Batman, half the audience and half the critics hated. It just is what it is. So I don't think they're looking at Batflick as a backup plan. I think they expect the Robert Pattinson movie to be great. But that still leaves open the possibility. So no, I don't think they're looking at Batflick as a backup plan. They have their plans, whether that plan is just for the Flash or whether that plan is more Batflick down the line. Whatever that is, that's not going to be impacted in the least by what happens with Robert Pattinson's movie. At least I don't believe so at all, because I don't think they're just bringing in Ben as a plan B. He's not a backup plan. I don't think so. All right, D. Cosby writes, if this isn't about resetting the DCEU, then why do a Flashpoint movie for Flash first movie? Why not? I mean, look, they've done Flashpoint before where it's just, everything happens in the movie and then the movie's done and we're right back to normal, right? They did that practically with the animated film. I mean, a couple of little things were changed, but at the end of the day in the animated Flashpoint movie, which actually isn't half bad, and that's coming from a guy who really doesn't like Marvel or DC straight to home video animated stuff, but Flashpoint was actually pretty good. That's one of the exceptions to me. I kind of like Flashpoint, but you could very, very easily do that, where it is its own standalone story. A lot of crazy things happen in it, but then it comes to a conclusion and it comes to an end. It doesn't reset the cinematic universe. They could, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying that they will never reset the cinematic universe with Flashpoint. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm not expecting it. And it is very, very easy. It's the easiest thing in the world to just have this all as one self-contained movie. You could do it very easily if that's what they want to do. And that's a big if. Chat is saying, Robert Mitchell writes, Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman of all time. Mine too, buddy. Mine too. Again, I'm not saying that Batman versus Superman is a better movie than Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. That would be preposterous. It's all subjective, but come on, it would be preposterous to say that. But I just think that Ben Affleck working with Zack Snyder, they just had a better fundamental understanding of who Batman is than Christian Bale and Christopher Nolan did. Christopher Nolan's the better director. Christian Bale is the better overall actor. But I just think that Zack Snyder and Ben Affleck fundamentally have a more proper understanding of the character than even as brilliant as their movies were, than even Christian Bale and Christopher Nolan did. But that's just an opinion. That's just a simple opinion. But I agree with you, Robert. All right, LexMan65 writes, do you think we could other cameos like Cavill or Ralph as Superman? Anything's possible, especially when you're talking about cameos, right? If you're talking about cameos, you can literally do anything. You can do anything. And remember, we're living in a world where we had Ezra Miller cameo in the CW Flash, just for a moment, but he cameoed. Do I think they will? I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but it's absolutely on the table, especially if you're just talking about cameos. No doubt, Lexman. All right. Let's see here. Where are we at? Kevin Bivens sends in $20. Thank you, Kevin, for supporting the channel on that level. Appreciate that, man. Hey, John, love your show. Thank you so much. Sorry for grammar. Rabbit hole idea. Rob's Batman, Robert Pattinson, I'm guessing you're saying. Rob's Batman is the prequel Bats, and in the Flash movie, Ben's Bruce gets hurt and taken to the Lazarus pit. Out comes Pat's Batman. Henry hopefully gets multi-pick deal. Here's why I'll give you the number one biggest reason why I don't think that's the case. Matt Reeves came on board and started scripting his Batman and what this Robert Pattinson Batman was long before they had this story for this Flash movie. Long before. It's not like this was, but remember, when Matt Reeves came on as Batman, the guys who directed Game Night were supposed to be directing and writing The Flash, and they had their story, and it was different from the movie they're going to do now. It was totally different. And Matt Reeves was making his Batman movie when there was going to be a Flash movie, but it was a totally different Flash movie. Totally different Flash movie. That tells me, and it doesn't guarantee it, I'm not saying it guarantees it, I'm just saying what that suggests to me is that Matt Reeves' Batman and his plans with Robert Pattinson and DC's plans for that Pattinson thing are completely separate from what is happening with this Flash or this Flash movie. Right? Because that timeline-wise, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Again, not impossible. And of course, we've seen in Hollywood and in DC, plans can change. They certainly can. But as of right now, because of the way this all came about, it seems very, very unlikely that that's the case. But again, but going to your Henry Cavill thing, I believe we're going to see a new multi-film picture deal announced for Henry Cavill here very, very soon. I really do. Whether it's going to be at Fandom or after Fandom, I believe that's coming soon. And then it's going to be a great day because it's going to mean that we can both look forward to seeing, even if it's just once, we're going to see Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne again, and we're going to see Henry Cavill as Superman again. And it's a good day, my friends. It's a good day to be a fan of Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. It is a very, very good day. All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, Kevin. Appreciate that. All right. Next up, Time to Choose writes, Ben Affleck's warehouse fight scene is one of the greatest superhero on-screen fight scenes ever. I agree. Second only to Man of Steel's battle in Smallville. Snyder plus Big Ben equals amazing. I don't know if I would say that it's my second favorite all-time fight scene, but I'd put it in top 5. That Batman on the warehouse roof just wrecking fools is one of my favorite action sequences in superhero movie history. The Smallville, well, any of the action scenes in Man of Steel are off the charts. I still think, though, that maybe my all-time favorite action sequence in a superhero movie is still in Civil War at the airport. I think the airport scene in Civil War might probably still be my favorite. The Man of Steel stuff, probably a close second. Where in the top 5 I'd put that Ben Affleck rooftop scene, I'm not sure, but it would definitely be in that conversation because it is one of the great ones. I love that scene. All right. Richard Karate writes, imagine with Affleck and Keaton becoming Batman in a Flash movie. They should put Linda Carter and Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and Diana and Henry, Brandon Routh, and Dean Cain as all Superman. Again, look, here's the thing that you got to be careful of, though. You can very quickly go from cool to gimmicky real fast. So you got to be careful because as you push towards that edge of something that'd be a really cool, edgy idea, you go 1 inch too far and suddenly now it's a stupid, gimmicky, schlocky idea, right? And what I don't think they want to do in their movie verse is suddenly get, hey, look, we got the original Batman, Michael Keaton, and our current DCEU Batman, Ben, are going to be in there. Great. I think that's amazing. But you go much further than that. Like you start bringing in now George Clooney and Val Kilmer are going to pop up too. And Dean Cain and Linda Carter and all of them showing up. Now you went from being from a really exciting idea to being a really pathetic sounding idea. Like a really gimmicky, schlocky. This is great for Saturday morning cartoons for children. But you've lost, and you got to be really careful because it's that line is so close to each other, right? It's such a fine line. It's such a fine line between that being really exciting idea to being a really gimmicky idea. And they got to be willing to go that far, but then have the restraint to not go too far. You know what I mean? So, and I think Walter Hamada is going to find that line perfectly. I hope, at any rate. So we'll see, Richard. All right. The Florida Murphys writes, seriously, I would see a Batman that Affleck directed. Oh, dude, are you kidding me? That's like the ultimate wet dream to me. I don't believe there's anybody in Hollywood, maybe in the comic book world, but in Hollywood that understands Batman better than Ben Affleck does. And that's why I've always been like hard in the pants to see Ben Affleck direct a Batman movie. So yeah, I would lose my mind, dude. I would absolutely lose my mind, Florida. All right. Lee P writes, do you think a Mr. Cavill announcement will be next? Yeah, I do. But I thought that before the Ben Affleck announcement, right? And look, we know Henry is going to be putting on the cape again. That's already been reported in the trades ages ago. The question becomes when and how do they announce it? How do they announce it? And when he does do it, is it as a supporting character in another movie, or is it as a standalone movie? There's still a lot to be found out, but we know Henry as Superman coming back is coming. We just need that official word. And I still think they're going to do it at Fandom, but maybe they will, maybe they won't. We'll find out. All right. Cam writes, just wanted to say, Ben M.F. Affleck, my Batman dude. I can't even begin to tell you. I can't even begin to tell you. Like, you guys know how, even when everybody was laughing at me, I have been a hardcore Ben Affleck defender for years, right? I always thought he was underappreciated as an actor. I've always told people he's better than you think, even before he started directing and proving he's one of the best directors in Hollywood today. You add that onto the fact that I never thought we'd see him as Batman again. So you take my maybe a little bit over the top love for Ben Affleck as Batman. You combine that with the fact that I never thought we'd see him as Batman again. And you create a scenario of joy, the likes of which is difficult for me to put into words, my friend. All right. Next up, Doug Ternovian writes, how would you feel if Affleck directed Pattinson? Well, I would have loved it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm no disrespect to Matt Reeves. I think Matt Reeves is a terrific director. And when they announced that Ben Affleck was stepping down as the director of the Batman movie for Matt Reeves, even though they were lying about it at the time and saying, oh no, he's only stepping down as the director. And Ben saying, oh, I really need to be, I can't really direct and star in it at the same time. And I told everybody that's all bullshit. It turned out, yeah, that was all bullshit. But I said at the time, and I still believe today, that yeah, I would rather have a Ben Affleck directed Batman, but if it can't be Ben Affleck, I'll take Matt Reeves. Definitely I'd take Matt Reeves directing a Batman movie. He's an excellent director. And that's all I can ask for. So yes, I would love to hear that Ben Affleck is directing Batman, but that's no way any shade, any disrespect to Matt Reeves, who I think, hey, if it can't be Affleck, Matt Reeves is a great choice. All right. Where are we at here? Guys, my voice is going. I've been now speaking for 3.5 hours today, and my voice is starting to go. Let's see. ZOMG Ruler writes, awesome super chats are back only for this. I only turned on super chats because I didn't want it to get mixed in with everybody else's questions for the main show. So I only turn, and I still don't fully trust the super chats because you guys remember why I turned them off. I still don't fully trust the super chats, but I've only got them turned on for now. They won't be on for the John Campea Show tomorrow. Two Batmen in the same movie. Hell, maybe it'll be 3. Maybe it'll be 3, or maybe it'll be 1. Like, I think Michael Keaton is playing Bruce Wayne. The trades have already said he is, but it's possible that maybe he's Thomas Wayne instead. So maybe we're only getting 1 Batman, but I think we're getting 2. All right. Gotham, Georide writes, or Jordy, Gotham's Jordy writes, think news been released before Fandom on purpose. Again, what I think happened here was, again, I don't think it's a coincidence that the day they pull the to be announced panel from Fandom, and the day that the Ben Affleck news comes out, it's on the same day. I don't think that's coincidence. But what I'm guessing, and it's only a guess, what I'm guessing is Warner Brothers found out that the information got into the wrong hands, that the information got out there. And so to stay ahead of it and to stay in control of the narrative, they released the news to Vanity Fair, to Deadline, to stuff like that. Yeah, that's just my guess, but it's what makes the most sense. So that's my guess. Let's see. The Gaming and Movie Channel writes, John, I am with you, and I absolutely love Man of Steel. Affleck back as Batman has made my day. Screw the haters. Listen, I think it's a great day. And again, listen, I know before everybody starts emailing me, John, you don't even know if he's going to be Batman. Maybe he won't be. Look, I know. He is going to be Batman, but maybe he's not even in the bat suit. Maybe we don't see him in any action sequences. Maybe it's like a 2-minute cameo. I know. Okay, I know. It's still worth being excited about. Even if it's just a cameo, it's still worth being excited about because I never thought we'd get another second of it. So, yeah, listen, Man of Steel, it's the best DCEU movie made. It's one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. It is absolutely the most underrated comic book movie of all time. So the fact that we're getting Henry back at some point is great, but this one was completely unexpected. Like Ben back, even if it is just for one movie, and even if it's just for a cameo, we'll find that out later. But even if, worst case scenario, it's still great. It's still great. Fan of Steel writes, JDM as Thomas Wayne, talking about Negan there, as Thomas Wayne Batman, Keaton as Batman Beyond Bruce Wayne, and Affleck as current Batman. It could work, and I personally think Keaton will have a much smaller role than Affleck. Listen, they could both be very small. Listen, I said before, when they made the Michael Keaton announcement, I said, I'm guessing it's going to be a very small role. And it might be big, but I'm guessing it's going to be small. The Affleck thing could be just as small. It could be big. Might be just as small. Whether we see Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne, now, of course, that would be consistent with the Flashpoint stuff we've seen before. I don't know. Remember, though, this is what everybody always forgets, though. This is... Whenever a comic book property, an existing comic book story, gets announced as a movie, everybody assumes it's going to be just like the comic book story, but it never is. Right? It never is. X-Men Days of Future Past, one of the top 10 greatest comic book movies ever. Nothing like the comic book version of Days of Future Past. There's some thematic similarities, yes, but nothing like it. Civil War, one of the great comic book movies, but it's nothing like the comic book story of Civil War. There are some thematic similarities, but for the most part, they made it very different. Ultron was very, very different. Ultron was very different. All my point is this, is even if, and we don't know for sure this is going to be Flashpoint, but I'm guessing it's going to be Flashpoint. Even if on Fandom Day that they announce that this new Flash movie's coming and it's going to be Flashpoint, don't assume that just because other Flashpoint iteration stories, whether it's the animated home video movie or in the comics or whatever, don't assume anything. Don't assume just because, he comes across a reality where Thomas Wayne is Batman, and it wasn't Thomas that died in the alley, it was his son Bruce that died in the alley, and thus Thomas Wayne became the Batman. Just because that happens in those versions of the story does not automatically mean that that's going to happen in the movie version. We have seen that over and over and over and over again. It doesn't mean it won't be in the movie version of the story, but it does not automatically mean that it will. It does not automatically mean that it will. So you just got to keep that in mind, right? Because I've already seen some people saying, well, then that means Jeffrey Dean Morgan is definitely going to come back and he's going to be Thomas Wayne. Well, maybe. But it may not. There may not be Thomas Wayne in this at all. Doesn't mean there won't be, but it doesn't mean there will be. Just remember that just because it has the title of a comic story or a story we've seen done before, that does not mean they're going to follow beat for beat what happened in those previous iterations of the story. Remember, I always say this. The job of a filmmaker is not to be as true to the source material as possible. Everybody thinks that's their job. It's not. The number one job of a filmmaker is to make the best movie possible. Sometimes that means you stay pretty close. Sometimes that means you deviate severely, like Civil War. Civil War was very different, but it was awesome. It's one of the best comic book movies ever. Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight didn't follow any storyline, really. And even when they had Bane, yeah, in the comics, Bane breaks his back, but they did it totally differently than they did in the comics, right? So let's just allow Muschietti to make the best movie possible. And maybe that means he stays true to the Flashpoint story. Maybe that means he takes a lot of liberties. As long as the end result is the best movie possible, that's all I care about. Just make the best movie possible. That's all I care about. So whether that means Jeffrey Dean Morgan will be there or not, well, we'll have to see. All right. Let's move on here. What is next? Hold on a second. I am all messed up here. Okay, there we go. Back up and running here. Okay, so that was Fan of Steel. Where are we at now? We are now at Thomas DeHart, who writes, what if Ben is Batman until the aftermath of Flashpoint, where it is revealed Robert Pattinson's Batman will be the main Batman going over? Again, the big piece of evidence that makes that seem very, very unlikely is that Matt Reeves had already conceived of and wrote his Batman movie before this Flash movie was ever a thing. Because remember, again, when he was making his Batman movie, okay? When Matt Reeves was making his Batman and laid out the story and then wrote the script, there was a completely different Flash movie that was going to be made. That was not Flashpoint. It was something else totally different. So Matt Reeves has created his Batman in such a way that is completely divorced from this Flashpoint movie. That doesn't mean anything's impossible. It doesn't mean this automatically cannot happen. But that does seem to make it pretty unlikely, right? Because what you're suggesting here would suggest that Matt Reeves always knew this was part of the plan for his Batman, and he was going to write his Batman understanding that at some point we're going to do this Flashpoint movie, and my Batman, my Robert Pattinson Batman, is now going to be appearing there. And he would have, when in reality, when he was making his Batman movie, this Flash movie didn't even exist. Does that 100% guarantee that this theory is wrong? No. It works against it, but it doesn't automatically mean it's wrong. Not in the least. All right, next up here. Ethan Holgate writes, top 3 best things to come out of 2020, at least for me. 1, The Last of Us Part 2, the single best story in a video game ever. 2, the Snyder Cut is happening, and now Ben freaking Affleck is back as Batman. And again, I understand that it might just be a one-time thing. I understand it might be a 30-second cameo. I understand we may not even see him in the cape and cowl. I understand all of that, and I accept all of that. It's still freaking awesome. And who knows, maybe it opens the door to more stuff. So I'm in a really sucky year, Ethan. I'll take all the good news we can get. David Goldstein writes, does this mean new Batflick hot toy? Maybe. I mean, even if he's not in the cape and cowl, I'd take it. Damn right I'd take it. Oh my God. Actually, you know what? Yes. I'll bet you anything this means a new Batflick hot toy, even if it's just him as Bruce Wayne. By the way, I don't think there is a Bruce Wayne, like a Ben Affleck Bruce Wayne hot toy. I don't know if that exists. Maybe this one will be that one, David. I'll talk to Robert. Robert Meyer Burnett will know the answer to that. Jacob Hirsch writes, could this mean the DCU continuity is continuing to more of an extent than we initially thought? I don't think it means anything. I don't think it means anything this way or the other way. This Flashpoint movie could be universe resetting and have massive implications, but it's also very possible, I would dare I say likely, that this is going to be a very single, standalone, isolated movie. That by the time this movie gets to its conclusion, it's going to be wrapped up. Like they will have finished and brought everything to conclusion in that one movie. And it will have no other further ramifications on what's going to happen to Aquaman 2 or Wonder Woman 3 or any of that stuff, or Shazam 2 or Black Adam or anything that they've already got planned. So it's possible. We'll know a lot more after this weekend. We will know a hell of a lot more after this weekend. For now, though, I'm just going to go with it's probably going to be a very self-contained thing. But again, we will know more. Glenn G-Man writes, do you think sorry guys, my voice is starting to go. Again, we're now passing 3.5 hours that I've been talking and doing shows today. Do you think the Justice League reshoot issues that Ray Fisher had highlighted may have been a reason for his departure from the franchise? Do you mean Ben Affleck's? No. If you're talking about Ben Affleck, no, that had nothing to do with it. Ben has been very, very forthright and very open since officially, like he was towing the company line for a while to make things as good for Warner Brothers as possible. He was being a real pro and a real professional. But once he came out and revealed that he was out, he's been, especially when The Way Back was coming out. Remember when his movie The Way Back was coming out? He was very forthright. He did that big piece in Vanity Fair about what was behind him leaving. And I think there's a lot of things, but no, I don't think that had anything to do with it. I really don't. I haven't heard anybody from Gal Gadot to Jason Momoa to Henry Cavill to Ben Affleck say anything but really good, positive things. So no, I don't think that had anything to do with it. That doesn't mean there wasn't more going on, not in the least. But again, Ben has been very, very forthright about why he left. And it's a number of different things, but that was never one of them. So I take his word for it at this point. All right. Ramit writes, confirmed Affleck playing stunt double for Pattinson. Since Pattinson has refused to train for the role, been your fan since the AMC days. Thank you. Wouldn't that be funny? Ben Affleck back to be Robert Pattinson's stuntman in the movie coming out. Now that would be jobbing. That would be the ultimate definition of jobbing. All right. Richard Karate writes, Johnny, sorry this is a bit off topic, but is there any truth to Vin Diesel doing a Kojak movie based on the Telly Savalas TV show? No idea. We're here. Thank you for writing that in, Richard, but we're here to talk about Ben Affleck and the Ben Affleck thing right now. That's what we are specifically here to talk about. And the answer to that question is I don't know anyway, but please guys, we're here specifically to talk about this one amazing, earth-shattering, world-shaking news. All right, Stella McShave writes, this is a weird year. How many things have happened this year that couldn't happen? I know, again, listen, when you get into unprecedented times like we're in, the rule book goes out the window. The playbook goes out the window. You just don't know what you're going to get. And yeah, the strangest things have happened. Now, look, Ben Affleck coming back was something that I have only ever dreamed of, but never possibly thought would happen again. But here we are. He's in a different place in his life. He's in a healthier place in his life. He feels better about things. I mean, I couldn't have asked. You guys know this has been at the top of my boner wish list for a long time. So this is just great. All right. Mel H just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Mel. I appreciate that. Casinema Reviews writes, if it's a short cameo, I can't help but think of the scene from Flashpoint where Barry gives Bruce the note from his father yeah, I mean, that's a great example, right? That's a great example of what Ben's role in this movie could be, right? Because that Batman in that movie, you're right, very short, but probably the most emotionally impactful moment when he gives him the note from his father. All emotionally significant, emotionally powerful, all that kind of stuff, but still a short part. That could be what Ben is doing in this movie. It could be a 20-minute co-star role. I don't know. But it could very well be like that. That's a great, actually, that's an excellent example, Casinema. That's an excellent example of what this could be. All right, guys, my voice is almost done. So I'm probably going to have to wrap this up in a second. But when I do wrap this up, there are still about 10 or 15 questions left. I just don't know that I can get through them. You can tell I'm struggling here. I will add these questions in with tomorrow's John Campea show. Okay. Because we're going to talk about this Ben Affleck thing on tomorrow when I got Rob here with me. We're going to talk about this Ben Affleck thing. We will make sure we get to these questions tomorrow. So yes. So let me finish. Let's finish off with Lucky Dragon, who writes, I think the extent of Ben's screen time will amount to the scene at the end of Flashpoint. Oh, sorry, that's the one we already had. So we will end off with Robert Gavin, who writes, I am more excited for Snyder Cut and Affleck Return than for the Reeves film. Can you do a poll on this to see how many people feel about this? Probably not. I think it's probably pretty even. I am far more interested in the Matt Reeves Batman movie. Far more interested in the Matt Reeves Batman movie because it is a fully true original new movie. Now, if they were announcing that Batman was the co-star of the Flash movie, I'd be more interested in that. If they announced that Ben Affleck was getting his own standalone Batman movie, I'd be more interested in that. But as it stands right now, I don't know how much of this movie is going to have Ben Affleck. So I'm super excited about it. But I honestly don't know right now if it's going to be 30 seconds or 3 minutes or 30 minutes. I just don't know. With this Matt Reeves thing, and Matt Reeves is a great director, with Robert Pattinson, who is truly an exceptional actor, doing this full Batman movie, starting off a new Batman. I'm personally more excited about that, but I think you probably see that the averages are pretty even on that. All right, listen, from Lee and Kevin and Tabletop and on, I will get to your stuff tomorrow. I'm like I said, I'm over 3.5 hours now today of just talking. My throat is done. I am kaput. I can't push it anymore. And if I do, I'm not going to be able to do a show tomorrow at all. So we will pick up on the rest of these questions that you guys sent in. And thank you so much for sending in your contributions to this. And we will get to all of them on tomorrow's show. So keep your guys' eyes open for that. Guys, again, for those of you who are just joining us, and why are you just joining us now? The greatest news in the history of mankind has broke. What thought to be impossible. Ben Affleck, dare I say, the greatest iteration of Batman of all time, is back. How big or how small, we don't know, but who cares? Let's just take what we got for now. Ben Affleck is back. Never thought it could happen, and here we are. It's the greatest thing, guys. It's the greatest thing. Anyway, we will talk more about this on the John Campea Show tomorrow. My throat is done. Guys, thank you so much for dropping in here and having this little chat with me. I appreciate it very much. Again, Robert Meyer Burnett and I will go more in depth on this on tomorrow's show, and we will get to the remainder of your questions as well. Guys, thank you to everybody who sent in the super chats because you gave us more great things and possibilities and things to talk about, and you were supporting this channel while you did it. So, guys, seriously, we all thank you very, very much for that. That will do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until tomorrow's show, guys, we'll talk more about Ben Affleck's Batman. Bye-bye.